I'm still in here? I thought doing a commentary would get me out like it does for the others, but maybe I did something wrong? Shoot, I also seem to be running out of rations. Weren't those supposed to last me a week? How long have I been in here? Shit, the timer on this thing is almost up. So I guess it has been a week? Who the hell even locked me in here? I've only got about a minute left to live, so you might as well show yourself. What are you? Some kind of pussy? My aching. Oh, that's just great. I'm freaking produce. Wait, I don't have any appendages. That must mean the watch is... Of course it's still here. Well, on the bright side, at least now I have some room to walk around. Ugh. The hell is the material doing all the way out here? I mean, might as well look at it, am I right? What could possibly go wrong? Wait, is this... the SonicShadow channel? Uh-oh.
I do not support harassment of any kind. Please be courteous when discussing the subject of this video. If the subject is watching this video, this is not a personal attack despite whatever jokes I may make. This is for critique and entertainment, nothing more or less.
For those of you who don't know, the SonicShadow channel, previously known as SonicShadow 98 and has the legal name Sonic Twilight Sparkle Mario Rodriguez, is a ranter who became a bandwagon after he released a rant on the hit video game Among Us. That's not what I'm covering today. No, see, Loudman Styles already covered that. Then Ryan, SonicShadow's actual name, responded to it in a also not very good video. Then, the Cloud Palace covered that, and now he subtweeted that in video form. That's what we're covering today.
I hate to be negative again, but what the hell? I come back to YouTube, I rebrand myself as the SonicShadow channel, I become more positive and negative, and I become really cool and badass. And this is the crap I get.
Really cool and badass, huh? Nah, that's too easy. What about you being more positive? Ever since your reboot on Halloween 2021 to this video, you've posted 31 videos, and out of those, 4 were rants, one of which being a re-upload, but I think it still counts since you found it good enough to keep it up. 4 were pretty positive videos overall, but there are several non-rant videos that are also very negative, like your reaction to Tom Holland still being in the MCU, which is just a guy from Metalocalypse screaming "No!" over and over again. Or your self-commentary, which was also extremely negative. Like, I know self-criticism is a good thing and all, but you can also overdo that. So yeah, no, that's also bullshit.
This right here. Oh, this crap was on a freaking plush video of old videos that I have made. This comment was on Tales Stays Up Late at Night Part 2, to be exact. Stop with the Among Us memes. They are dead, and they were never funny to begin with. See, this is why I decided to rant on Among Us a while back, because this crap really annoys me. This entire thing is horrid. Oh, such. Sushy imposter? Like the baka? I do not know who the hell thought you were cool people, because in my book, you are not cool at all. You're spewing out dead memes out of your frickin' ass, and you have nothing better to do but comment on my videos. These are the scums of the commentary community, the ones that say that I can take criticism, but yet they do stupid crap like this.
Honestly, dude, if these sorts of comments on one video is enough to label people as the scum of the community, all of us are scumbags in some form or another. If it's that bothersome, just put up a spam filter for words like sus, Among Us, imposter, vent, all that jazz. Also, maybe don't respond like an edgy teenager every time someone brings those memes up.
When the imposter is sus.
Congratulations, you proved to me that you can handle even the slightest bit of criticism when being called out.
I get it can be kinda annoying seeing it on videos not even relating to Among Us, but at the end of the day, it's just a meme, man. Calm down.
This video is not intended to cause drama. Don't stop BS with me, please don't. The point is, this is extremely stupid, immature, dumb, and childish.
This video isn't meant to start drama. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to call you all childish and immature because you left memes in my video's general chat. Come on, dude, not even my window is that transparent.
I have improved as a content creator and a person, meaning that I have changed. If you didn't get the memo, please stop, shut the hell up, and leave me alone.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here, because to say you haven't improved would be a straight up lie. Your latest videos haven't bled out my eardrums at least, and you do seem to be trying to stick to your points in a more organized manner. However, just because you've improved doesn't mean you're perfect. If this video is to be believed, you still have a very short temper and are quick to make knee-jerk reaction videos, as seen in 3, 2, 1...
And I am going to do a follow-up rant once again on the commentary community, the second part to my initial rant on them.
Oh, great! Someone got covered by the CC and now they're going to make a rant on us! Time is a flat circle filled with pain and misery that we cannot possibly hope to escape from.
To the commentary community, or more specifically the scums that make up the community, if you cannot take my criticisms, too bad. I'm going to rant on you guys one more time again anyways, because you just need to be called out for the type of crap that you have done. When I do the follow-up rant and post it in a calm and civilized manner, like the way I'm speaking now and not this screaming and raging lunatic that I was in the past, if you stop BS with me, if you just completely trash the whole rant because, oh, it trashed our precious community, how dare you not take criticism, blah, 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 then that will prove to me that you are unable to handle any sort of criticism whatsoever. This month is a piece of crap already. I do not need any of this BS crap thrown against me, all because I dare criticize the community. No, I'm not having it.
All I hear is, if you don't agree with me, you can't take criticism. Which, no? Ryan, some critique is just not valid, and we don't have to take every single piece of critique we get, especially if some of it is contradictory. Let's use you for example and say someone complains about your music choice in the intro of your videos, and when you change it in the next video, someone else complains that you should change it back. How does one accept both critiques and change it based on what they say? Also, if part 1 of your CC rant is anything to go by, the critiques all boil down to subjectivity, nitpicks, and negative bias. Feel free to prove me wrong when you post it, but I don't really have high hopes for something this obviously reactionary.
And No Way Home looks like it'll be a pile of trash.
Wait, what? Did I click on a different video of his somehow? No, you're just talking about Spider-Man now? John Q. Spider-Man? Why? This is such a random change in topic halfway through your video. What is your style of... Oh shit, I alerted a nearby camp. Look what you did to me, Ryan! Fuck! My aching, everything. Wait, where am I now? Double weight? Why is my avatar an anime girl again? Triple weight? Why is my watch now showing 4 days instead of 7? Calm down, Daisy. Let's just retrace my steps. I was in that school for 7 days. Then I was a tomato in the sky. Then I tripped on some material. Ow! Heh. Why does deja vu always hit me? A video by Keyboard Master on some copycat guy? All about the worst aspects of Nintendo? That SonicShadow video was about to participate in the My Opinion is Fact Olympics anyway. Wasn't a lot to say there, so let's go.
See the grass? Go touch it!
Although Nintendo generally produces games that are fun for people of all ages to enjoy, not every single thing about the company is always positive, and from time to time they have definitely had some missteps. Whether it be a lack of story, terrible levels, or the entries being way too easy, it all led me into wanting to create today's video about the worst thing about every Nintendo franchise. Of course, I'm gonna have to nitpick a bit, as some of these series are near perfect, but there are some that do have some serious flaws that I want to discuss.
Okay, first off, saying Animal Crossing has a lack of a story is really funny, considering within the most recent installment, there is technically a small story there via building up your island and its ratings until KK Slider shows up. Simple? Sure, but there's still a story there. And even then, how is a lack of a story a bad thing, since while a story can be important for some games like RPG RPGs, for example, there are other genres of games that can work just fine without a story, like life simulators. Not every game needs to have a story in order to be good.
Cool, New Horizons has a fairly simple plot. That doesn't mean the story isn't lacking, as lacking can also mean deficient or inadequate. Maybe Copycat thinks the simple plot isn't enough. Also, while you're right in saying that the main plot isn't that important in a life simulator, you know what can be? The characters' stories as you build your relationships with them, which is something Animal Crossing fans describe as done slightly worse in New Horizons. Now, Copycat, if that's what you were going for, I'd recommend showing a clip of you talking to a villager instead of hitting a rock to get your point across better. Maybe show some battling in the Pokemon clip to better show your point about it being too easy.
See the grass? Go touch it!
Starting things off with Nintendo's first franchise they debuted on the NES in 1985, Mario. Where I'd have to say that the worst thing about this series of games is that when they do include a multiplayer mode, it almost always is underwhelming. Even though it's a vital focus of games like Super Mario 3D World and the new Super Mario Bros. Console entries, it always felt cumbersome to have 4 separate characters on screen at one time, as it forces players to stay together rather than explore on their own.
So you find it cumbersome for the players to stick together as opposed to exploring on their own, despite the fact that in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, the levels are very straightforward, with the level design being a straight line due to those games being 2D. And for Super Mario 3D World, while the levels in that game might have a Y-axis in them, their structure is still very straightforward considering it's just a pathway to the goal. And that's not even taking in the auto-scrolling levels which are in both of these games. And if this is about the collectibles, then you might have a point, but 1, you're really vague on this aspect, and 2, that's not really a fault with the game as opposed to the people you're playing with, which can be solved by simply asking the players to stop moving ahead so you can get whatever collectible you were trying to get. Plus, giving the players the option to explore would actually be a detriment to these games, considering in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, there's not much that can be explored considering it's a 2D side-scroller and could possibly result in one player getting left behind and negatively impacting the team, considering a part of the screen is now focusing on that one left behind player. And in Super Mario 3D World, the problem gets even worse, considering with that 3D plane, the chances of a player getting left behind is much higher, resulting in them getting lost and hurting the team as a result, which when looking at some of these levels is the last thing anyone wants to experience.
Keyblade, you're assuming that whoever's rushing on ahead will just stop when you tell them to. They might, but if they're already trying to beat their PB on that level with multiple people with them, good luck convincing them to stop to get the collectibles. Speaking of, yeah, those are still in the levels. They're fairly linear levels, yes, but the secrets are still out of the way a lot of the time. If you notice something everyone else misses and you get left behind, tough luck, you're getting in the bubble, I guess. Also, why are you acting like if they implemented a split screen, it would only be when someone lags behind? If split screen were a thing, it'd likely be there from the beginning, like in most split screen games. Only doing it in certain contexts would be awkward as hell. And unless you can give me an example of it happening in a well-reviewed game, there's no precedent for it either. Just a weird assumption to make overall.
This reluctance for each player to possess their own split screen has always led to frustrating moments with my friends and I, as it was inevitable that someone would lag behind. The chaos that's caused from this can be fun, but it does greatly diminish the point of co-op play, as it becomes more entertaining to troll your party rather than to help them.
Despite the fact that in both of those games, there are rewards and punishments depending on how the players work together with each other. As in the new Super Mario Bros. Games and Super Mario 3D World, they have a bubble gimmick to where if the player is about to die, then they can enter a bubble that can only be popped by the other players, thus saving that player from losing a life and encouraging teamwork. Now, if you want to argue that this system can encourage trolling via the other players finding it funny to leave the other person in the bubble, then just like the collectibles, that's not really a fault on the games and more so the fault of the people you're playing with for either having a goofball or being dicks. Which at that point, you might need to find some new people to play these games with. And to further elaborate on how this kind of trolling is not encouraged by the games, the players all share lives in 3D World, meaning that if someone fucks around, then everyone suffers. TLDR, the multiplayer in these games isn't as cumbersome as you make it out to be.
Is the bubble really a reward? It's more like a tool to help with co-op. Probably as a band-aid to cover up how some people would just blindly rush ahead. Key. There isn't really a punishment either. Yeah, everyone shares lives in 3D World, but it's not like as soon as you reach 0, it's game over. After you reach 0, Whoever dies next is booted out for the rest of the level. And if whoever's left beats it, you get 5 lives for every person who died after 0. If anything, that's a safety net to make it safer to troll. Even then, you don't share lives in New Soup, so where's any sort of consequence there? All that happens is that the continue counter goes up for every game over a player gets. Thus Troll Toad is left at 99 lives, while Luigi is left at 99 continues. A sad day for poor little Elliot.
More recently in Super Mario Odyssey and in Bowser's Fury, the co-op has involved the second player controlling the game's ancillary characters, like Happy and Bowser Jr., only helping the first player by collecting items and easily defeating enemies. Although this method of co-op works on some levels, especially if you're playing with a person that's new to video games, it does however make your experience incredibly easy, taking any risk away that makes the playthrough more rewarding.
Takes away any risk how exactly, considering unlike in the previous games you talked about, the second player here really can't do much aside from finding secrets with their specific ability, collecting coins, or taking out enemies. Stuff that, while helpful to the first player, isn't exactly game-breaking, thus leaving room for challenge. Especially when said challenge in Mario games comes from the platforming and obstacles. Stuff that the second player can't exactly break.
Are you sure about that? In all seriousness, while the main challenge in Mario games does come from platforming, enemy placement can also be a part of that at points. Being able to defeat enemies from afar can make an obstacle too easy to overcome, and thus remove the challenge from that section.
See the grass? Go touch it!
To be honest, this is a small problem in a series that's usually directed towards a single player experience. I just find it a bit unfortunate because if a multiplayer was done right, it would be a huge hit.
Oh, you mean like the new Super Mario Bros. Games in 3D World, which were highly praised for its multiplayer? This is what we call an oof moment, fellas.
Hey, what's with these giant blocks of text on the screen that we only have 3 seconds to fully read unless we pause the video? These could have been cut down to just the aspects that talk about multiplayer. Like so. Oh, and speaking of these, you show a complaint about the multiplayer in 3D World, that the camera is unreliable in multiplayer. So that's a case where the split screen would be beneficial, and this shows that it isn't solely a problem Copycat has. Now that is an oof moment.
See the grass? Go touch it!
Over the years, I've definitely grown to like and accept the Zelda title, and honestly, it is a testament to how good this franchise is, if it isn't my only complaint. I do hope though that Zelda will take a larger role in the franchise eventually, but only time will tell what they'll do in Breath of the Wild 2.
I'm not sure if nitpicking about the name is a sign that the franchise is really good, or how your skills as a content creator are really lacking. Also, you're ignoring how she has been playable before in games such as Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which is a sequel to Breath of the Wild, so GG, mate.
Except, Age of Calamity isn't a sequel. Before you go, yeah, obviously it's a prequel, Key already acknowledged that in a comment. It's also not a prequel. To fully explain this would spoil Age of Calamity, so skip to this timestamp to avoid spoilers. I'll wait. Okay, so Age of Calamity isn't a prequel or a sequel, but an alternate universe created by this baby guardian traveling to the past along with all the champion's family members. Thus, the only reasonable label for this game is a disappointment, I mean a spin-off, taking place in an AU. So if that and the original Hyrule Warriors are really the only examples of Zelda being playable in the Zelda series, I think Copycat's wish for more mainline playable Zelda is still valid.
See the grass? Go touch it!
The next franchise we're going to look at in this video is the turn-based style Fire Emblem series.
Tread very lightly or you'll be coming out of this segment in pieces!
And although I haven't played many of its games, when I have, the worst part about them has to be the Fog of War levels. What this means is that you have a limited vision of the map, making it impossible to properly predict where to go, and ensuring that you're going to fail several times like I always would. What I hated the most about these levels was the AI, as they are incredibly unpredictable, so there would be playthroughs where you need to guide someone from point A to point B, and they die before you even reach them.
Not gonna lie, you had me at the first part. Since yes, not being able to see where you go is a problem with these Fog of War maps, granted, there are workarounds to getting better vision in these maps like torches and in some games spells that increase visibility, but that wouldn't negate how this is still an issue. Then you bring up the AI being random in these levels and this whole entry falls apart, just like my attempts at making hilarious and original content. Considering this issue isn't necessarily a problem exclusive to Fog of War, as aside from the bosses, the enemy AI is always random, which was done in order to keep you on your toes with this being a tactical role-playing game and all, which isn't helped by your footage, where you talk about how you need to escort someone from point A to point B, but die before you even get there, while showing a green ally about to be destroyed by a tome user with a long-range spell like bolting. Stuff that's not the fault of the fog, but more so because of bad unit placement, along with escort missions being a pain in the ass. Like honestly, this part feels as if you ran out of issues to talk about regarding Fog of War and decided to yeet in an unrelated issue just for the sake of adding more time to this segment.
Copycat never said that the AI being random was exclusive to the Fog of War missions though. He only said that the random AI makes those missions more difficult. Especially since you can't see where you're going and have to escort someone while being blind. Add the possibility of an AI insta-killing that escort when you're not even close to them? It's just an additional fuck you cherry on top of the Fog of War shit sundae. Also, why even mention the torches and visibility spells when you acknowledge that it doesn't actually fix the issue of not being able to see? Especially torches, since those are temporary and only get worse the more turns you take. Point being, Fog of War sucks and Fire Emblem is trash. Ow, my pretendix.
See the grass? Go touch it!
The next franchise we're going to focus on is Kirby's, where the worst thing about his series is that it's starting to become stale and repetitive. To date, there are 17 platforming games starring the titular character, with the last being Star Allies that came out for the Switch in 2018. Although there are a few interesting concepts in that game, like its multiplayer mode, during my playthrough, I felt like I already had a similar experience in past titles, and it didn't seem like anything new happened at all.
Boy, I'm pretty sure Star Allies is a one-of-a-kind experience. Have you seen how ripped DD got? But to be serious, how exactly do you feel that you had a similar experience in past titles when compared to one another? As the Kirby games are usually able to stand out from one another, whether it be Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, where you have an open world to explore as opposed to a hub world, Kirby Squeak Squad, where you're seeking treasures, Kirby Superstars and its remake being a collection of mini-adventures, or Kirby Star Allies, where you are killing God with the power of friendship. If you know another game in the Kirby franchise that lets you kill God with the power of friendship, then at me, coward!
Kirby Superstar, specifically Milky Way Wishes, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Kirby Mass Attack, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Am I missing any Keyblade Master? Also, Squeak Squad is exactly the same as other Kirby games released at the time, except for the treasure, which is basically just another collectible at the end of the day. And it's been a common complaint that Return to Dreamland, Triple Deluxe, Robobot, and Star Allies are all pretty much the same game with a new gimmick attached. Is it any wonder Copycat says this franchise is getting stale and repetitive?
See the grass? Go touch it!
Although I really don't have anything against the Yoshi franchise, there's one standout thing about the games that I absolutely hate, and that's its easy difficulty. Other than Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island for the SNES, I feel like I haven't had any trouble with any of the titles since that entry, where it almost seems like Nintendo is intentionally producing them for kids as a stepping stone to other franchises. As a fan of increased difficulty in video games, I would like to see an entry more like the old Yoshi Island titles, but if Crafted World is any indication, then I don't think that will ever happen.
So I'm going to cover Cat for a bit here, since this entry in particular has a few things I want to bring up. First, are you sure Yoshi's Island is more difficult than the newer games, or did you just get better at video games as you got older? You can learn more gaming conventions and get better hand-eye coordination as you go on, so if you go back to the original Yoshi's Island now, I'm pretty sure you'll find it easier than when you played it as a kid. Second, Yoshi's difficulty comes from 100%ing the games, which generally involve getting every collectible in one run while not taking any damage. When not going for 100%, the games are way easier as you don't have to constantly scramble to get full health every time you get hit. If even that is too easy for you, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. Key does make a good point about how this is a subjective opinion on your end and not an objective problem with the series. So once again I have to say, the objective tone in your title was a bad idea. Also, since I agree with that point, I'm skipping it, and I'm also skipping the Star Fox segment for similar reasons.
Next up is the Animal Crossing franchise, where I'd have to say that the worst thing about the series is its repetitiveness, as after a few hours of gameplay, I felt like I ran out of things to do. There is a sense of adventure when you first start off on your island, but as you play more and more and finally upgrade to your own house, you realize how much of the same is repeated.
Excuse me, are you really getting onto a life simulator's case for being repetitive, while showing off New Horizons that is still receiving new content via free updates, or the very rare DLC pack? What the hell led you to saying that crap?
The insane reliance of collecting bells doesn't help its cause either, as you spend ages gathering all the rare items just for you to sell them so that you can give your money to Tom Nook. This is the only way you can upgrade your house and several aspects of your island, so you're drawn to do it even if you don't want to.
Well, that explains why you found the franchise to be repetitive. You had the priorities of Vince McMahon when that's not the main focus of these games. Animal Crossing is a franchise that focuses on giving you freedom to do whatever you want, like building up your town, making relationships with the residents who live there, seeking out new villagers and supplies on islands, or spending time with your friends on their islands via online play. Hell, Tom Nook doesn't even pressure you into paying off your taxes. So it's baffling that you would call this franchise repetitive when the only one who's making it repetitive is you.
Here's the thing, all of those things can still get repetitive very easily, especially since things like organizing your village and upgrading your house still take bells, and you have to pay off a loan before you can do another upgrade of some such. Not to mention how New Horizons in particular was criticized for the villagers not having much to say except for a few default lines based on the villager's personality. That'll get old real fast. Now, I've heard that the updates you mentioned have somewhat mitigated this problem, but it's still nowhere near the level of previous games, where villagers can go through whole arcs in their relationship with you.
See the grass? Go touch it!
The Pikmin franchise is up next in this video, and if I have to pick one thing to complain about in the series, then that would have to be about the extremely weak, portable Hey Pikmin entry that came out for the 3DS in 2017. Now, this game wasn't necessarily met with insanely negative reviews from critics and fans alike, but many noted that the 2D platforming gameplay doesn't exactly fit into what previous games had achieved.
Citation needed, along with how you're calling a spin-off that by your own words isn't reflective of what the franchise is, the worst thing about the franchise. Do I even need to explain what is wrong with this segment? As it should be pretty obvious that calling a spin-off game the worst thing in the franchise, when it doesn't even try to reflect the franchise that are real-time strategy/puzzle games, and instead be its own thing with Pikmin attached to it, is a really dumb point.
Okay, but it's still a part of the Pikmin franchise, and it's the part that's been criticized the most. Hell, even the mobile game reviewed better. The fact that it's a spin-off doesn't negate it being the worst thing about the franchise. Also, let's not ignore that Pikmin 4 has been teased to be ready for release since 2015, and a bad spin-off releasing 2 years later definitely would have left a sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. So is it really that weird to consider Hey Pikmin the worst part of the franchise after all? I don't really see issue with the Smash Bros segment, so I'm just gonna skip to final thoughts. Fuck you, Key. Copycat can be used to crash into high attack monsters, and under the effect of Macrocosmos can banish said monster. Oh, and I guess pay more attention to the video you're covering or your sources, since there are some missteps that could have easily been avoided, especially for someone like you. Hey, SonicShadow, if you're still watching, I bet you got really confused for a while there, huh? This is why you should avoid changing topics mid-video out of nowhere. See? Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna look for a way off this island. Ta-ta!